What's up, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another episode of Rift Insight. And today, we are joined here by Allorim, the actual Allorim. He's not a fake Allorim. This is the real Allorim from IMT, the LCS Pro Allorim. So, this is Season 1, Episode 10. We're going to be discussing things that Allorim has gone through during the split, how he's taking the off season now that he's obviously not going to Worlds. And then we have Reapered leaving Cloud9. And just want to get you guys' World 2020 predictions in terms of who do you think is going to be one of the best players, top, mid, bot, doesn't really matter, and one of the best teams going in, or even an underrated team. So just want to start it off. How are you guys doing? How's your day been?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I was wondering who's going first. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm on the degenerate sleep schedule now that it's off season. Going to sleep 6 a.m. Well, I guess it's more that I'm getting ready for Worlds. Going to sleep at like 6 or 7 a.m. Waking up in the middle of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been the same. I think the most recent days I've just been spamming Among Us till like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And
yeah, that's
up at like 2 p.m.
That's definitely vibes. I'm kind of in the same boat, except I'm starting to work really early, so I'm trying to get up. Yeah, I'm trying to get up at like 7, 8 o'clock, and then by the end of the day, like way end of the day, I'm just dead. So,
dude, I feel like, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm out of the house by 6. When I get off, I'm like, I could sleep, but then I fight to sleep, and then my eyes start hurting. I'm like, okay, I gotta take a nap, and then I sleep the whole night, and I go back to work. It's just the life of a common man, And then obviously pouring ice cream cones for people, and then having them throw them at you if they're not made properly. Yeah. It's definitely yeah. So, Allorim, how's it been since you guys didn't make playoffs? What are you planning on doing for this off season? Actually,
well, let's see. We've been in off season almost a month now.
Yeah.
So, at least for Immortals plans, I can't go too into it, but it should be pretty obvious to for everyone now that, and it was already public that. So as Ica, Gate, and Altec were dropped from the team, so there are 4 spots open in Immortals, and there could be more changes in the future. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And obviously, a big one is that we're going to be rehiring for staff, especially LCS head coach and just analytical positions in general at Immortals, since we were down to 1 coach for each team who were previously analysts for the team. So we're at that point right now, and we're not too far into it, and we're in the middle of doing interview process and all that. So that's what the org is doing for the off season. As for myself, I'm just taking a break. I'm taking it slow. I'm playing my challenger games on Decay. I'm not playing too many games right now. I'm doing a lot of other stuff, right? Since I'm back in Georgia now, I'm not in Los Angeles anymore.
Okay, how's that been going back home?
It's been great. Being at home, it just has a different feel than being in LA, which is where I work, right? So being closer to my family and a lot of my friends, and having my own car so I don't have to Uber everywhere is a nice thing to have. So it's been good since I've been back, and I'm hanging out.
Okay. Oof. So after you guys weren't able to make the playoffs for the LCS 2020 summer split, what were things that you thought of that you could have done differently?
Well, so during the split, we did have there was a point where I remember our manager had asked me if there was any combination of the roster we had that could we make it to Worlds with all 10 of the players on Immortals. Could there be any combination that could possibly make Worlds? And my answer was no. I didn't think that we could, just with the players we had in the time we had. And then when we got moved up, we went 1-1 the first week, and then we went 0-2 versus EGTL the next week. But they were very close games. They were within, a proper ability press on the keyboard away from winning. And so after that, I wasn't sure if we could make Worlds, but I think if we had opportunities to beat teams like, especially TL was one of them, we beat TSM, and we were beating EG. Like, if we can beat those teams who are on the upper half of the LCS, like, why couldn't we at least make playoffs? And if we could make playoffs, then, you know, a step above that would be doing well, and a step above that would be going to Worlds. So there was maybe in a different world, Immortals maybe could have made Worlds, but that was like, if we were to do that, we would have had to ride a momentum train, since we were a little behind the curve anyway, and I don't think a lot of people expected us to do well just from staff blowing up into us just being put in randomly. So I think in another universe we could have made it, and I think playoffs is definitely achievable by us. But yeah, during the split, when we started losing more, it was just, I think a lot of the org and ourselves were thinking about the next split as much as, you know, you should focus on the present, but thinking long term is not bad in League of Legends, because at the end of the day, for orgs, if they're losing currently, their plan is to look in the long term and what can be fixed the next season. So we're looking to rebuild Immortals in a better way for next split, and a big part of that comes from the staff we have. We needed more support, which we didn't have a lot of.
You know, coming off of like the first part of the split, where you guys had, was it Aka and SOAS, Potluck, was it Alltech and Gate, you know, starting 0-4, you guys coming in, you guys kind of, you know, reinvigorating the roster. Insanity had, you know, he had some pretty good games there. I was really happy that specifically for the LCS 2020 summer split, that, you know, how there was a big criticism that none of the orgs take risks on academy players. There was orgs taking risks on academy players. So at least, you know, it might not have been the biggest step toward getting them almost all into the LCS rosters. At least it's a start in the right direction. At least it's happening at some point rather than, you know, at all. Because the biggest complaint was they're just not doing it. But this split, it was different. They were willing to try it out, and Spica performed very well. Tactical performed very well. You performed very well. Insanity performed very well. Who came in? The support for 100 Thieves. Poom. He came in for a few games. He was pretty good. You know, so I think this split will be a big indicator for teams that if they want to try out academy talent, it might actually pave the way for that.
Yeah,
that's me personally.
At least for us, it was less of a risk and more of just like, okay, we're already losing every game. How about we just do something different? I don't think we even thought of it as a risk, because you couldn't go any lower than 0% win rate, right?
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Okay. So actually, my friend had a question last time for you being a top laner. So what is it like being considerably a weak side player versus a strong side player? So when you're in a draft and you have to play weak side, what is generally the team's plans for a weak side top laner when you have to play a champion that specifically goes towards that versus a draft catering towards a carry top laner?
At least for us, weak side top lane would mainly mean pick a tank that has engage, so not something like Maokai. Like, while you could do Maokai, that is like drafting more for a kite back, protect the carry, while we usually favored stuff like Ornn or Scion, which is engage, because a lot of the times we would draft no engage except for top lane. So it came down to that in the draft, where it was like, all right, we need some kind of engage because we have Graves and we have maybe we even have Ashe, but Ashe on her own needs some kind of follow-up. So we would have these tools to have a fight where we want to go forward, but we didn't have the hard engage yet. So a weak side top lane, we would usually just go, okay, you know, Allorim, play Ornn, play Scion. I'm good at those characters. I can play them adequately. And I guess I was also playing Malphite, which people were banning a lot toward the end, which was kind of funny. But that's always funny to me, is seeing the Malphite bans from. But
you might be the next Beerus and Zillion.
Yeah, I had 2 games of Malphite. People call me a Malphite one trick. I'm like, what? I had played 2 games of Malphite in the split. I'm like, come on, man. It's just they're banning. But yeah, and if we were strong side, it just depends what we wanted to play top. Like, I think the main one for us was we'd play Urgot for me, and we like picking him with Twisted Fate or something. So Twisted Fate can easily port top, and Twisted Fate Urgot's really good because it's stun card into Urgot ult. And we did that twice maybe, but we only had one really strong Urgot game, which was against DG. We didn't win, but it was one of those that we should have won. So yeah, I was mainly weak side, and in those games you just have to plan on getting dove or how to prevent yourself from getting dove, and you're just saying, all right, team, do better on the opposite side.
Do you think the community values weak side top laners less?
Not really. I think these days people can have a general understanding of what weak side top is. Like it used to be like if you just died to ganks over and over, it's like, oh man, this guy, how can he not just avoid these ganks? But pro play has gotten to a point where sometimes it's not possible for you to not lose anything off of ganks. Like you're either going to lose a ton of waves and a lot of XP, or you're going to lose your life going for the XP. So people, I think, generally understand what weak side top lane means, and that sometimes you have to die for the greater good. You'll see top laners blow their ultimates, like Ornn ultimate or Sign ultimate, on the wave while getting dove, because they're going to die. But if you can get all the creeps before you die, then that's at least the best case scenario for you.
Okay. Man, he explained it all for you guys. Make sure you pick Malphite in the LCS, become a one-trick, and have it insta-ban. So in like 5 years from now, when you're like the next Beerson for top lane, and you have like 6 trophies in your name, and people are banning out Malphite just as your pick, you heard it here first. Malphite will be your pick going
Malphite blind pick was mine.
I just thought it was funny because it was like that very first game. All it was they just kept diving you. That was all that happened. It just was like bully top, and then the next game, that was I think the one where, speaking of like one ability usage, like you guys played great, and Insanity missed I think one Oriole where the ball was stuck on them.
Yeah,
and that's what happened. I was like that.
That was
like,
my Malphite.
Yep,
that was
I think
my
that
Malphite
roster was fine. If it started from the beginning, I think you guys probably actually would have made playoffs, is what I would have said personally. But
yeah.
It's close.
If you guys had the roster that you guys were playing good with, I think you would have at least got 5th, 6th place.
It's a different world, and it's we can say that, right? But we don't really know. So
I know. I can see the future.
All right.
I'm Night Eye from My Hero. I can see the future.
All right.
So, what did you think about the playoffs for the LCS? Was it as garbage as everyone's been saying it's NA's doomed at Worlds?
I don't know. Like NA, you can never be too hopeful for at Worlds, considering our our history. But I'd like NA to do well, and I don't think playoffs were garbage games. Like I think like TL and FlyQuest, TSM have good chances to win games. Historically, NA has maybe like a 40-something% win rate at Worlds, which is, less than EU, China, and Korea, but we're not like underneath wildcard teams or anything, right? We're still like, we can take games. NA just struggles like in the clutch factor of games at Worlds. A lot of the times you'll see the most embarrassing moments at NA at Worlds is where we're ahead, and then we'll do something stupid and lose.
Double lift.
Yeah. So, and it goes down as memes for history, right? I'm still saying NA can do something, and I think the playoffs in general were a lot of fun to watch, especially TSM's climb from getting beaten by GGS into playing GGS again. They got 2-0'd at the start of the series and made a 3-0 sweep. When I saw them get 2-0'd, I'm like, okay, TSM's losing game 3 for sure, and they're going to be out. But, good for them. They took losing to GGS to playing GGS again to being down 2-0 to going all the way. Like, I thought that was a cool playoff story. Like, I'm happy for TSM, really.
It's that same old effect that T1, TSM have in the playoffs. You just can't count them out. If it's T1 or it's TSM in any roster iteration, in any split, you just can't count them out until they're actually not there anymore. I don't know.
I'd say that's more true for T1 than TSM. But, SKT did not make Worlds, so.
Yeah, and they were, even before Cloud9, let Reaper go, Coach Kim was like, I'm done, I'm leaving. But we'll get into it in a little bit. But I want to just ask you about the teams going to Worlds, Team Liquid, FlyQuest, and TSM. Which one, in your own personal opinion, should be the most likely team to perform pretty well?
I think that FlyQuest's top side is the best. Solo, Santorin, and PoE seem to be the best top side of all three of the teams. At least consistency. In consistency, they always seem to perform well, especially PoE. PoE, Santorin, I think, are the best duo lane or mid jungle duo of the three teams. So I think through that, they'll have the most consistent results between TSM and TL. But I think in terms of like an aggressive like team that has more convincing wins, it would probably be TL. I think TL if they play through bot side, and tactical has really good mechanics on him, right? So, and we've seen him save games single-handedly. That one Callista game, I forgot who. I think it was FlyQuest.
The Shen Flash Smite Baron. Yeah.
So I think that's TSM, right? Or am I thinking?
Yeah, no. So he's talking about the base defense that Tactical had.
Callista.
Oh yeah.
I think,
okay, there you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think TL has more clutch factor than FlyQuest, but I think FlyQuest will be the most consistent, and then TSM. It's hard to say. I feel like TSM. I can't really predict what they're gonna do.
Yeah, based off of from VODs I've seen, apparently Tactical is actually going insane right now. On the super server over in China, he's actually smurfing on everybody. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Tactical and Core JJ go against other teams.
Playing Worlds, yeah.
If I had to take a bet, I just think it sucks that TL's going in as not the first seed, because no matter what, you're facing a first seed of either the LPL, the LCK.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think if it's TL versus top esports, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting on top esports. But
no, man, you got to go TL. They're so much better. If you made a world top 20 list, why is Beardson not your number one?
Haha.
I think
one interesting dynamic, at least for this year, that might make things a little more interesting. It may not change much in the overall, but one thing to think about is because of the fact there's not really the same LAN experience so you get at Worlds, we're having the stage and everything. I think rookies who are kind of used to just playing scrims at home, scrims in their office, they're actually going to have, I think, at least a lot less pressure on them. Just they can play the games as if they're literally just in their scrim room, right? And that might affect the mental of someone like Tactical, who's still really new to playing in these kind of high pressure games, to allow him to just kind of unleash what he has.
Yeah, it definitely will make a impact, because being there on stage is not the same thing as playing online. So I think I can agree with that. You still definitely have a feeling, because there's a lot of stakes at play. You're definitely gonna have some nerves, but
sure, yeah.
It might all the same.
Dude, just imagine this. This could be the only Worlds where players are playing in their underwear, winning a humongous trophy like that.
That's right.
To just watch the player cams hey, why are you not wearing pants, by the way?
If you're holding the Worlds trophy without pants on, it's this is the only Worlds that'll happen. So, so for me in TL, I think certain teams like TL, I personally, for me, I would like if all the teams win the play-in stage, honestly. I think they need that momentum going in, where they can get those warm-up games with the wildcard regions in. That way, it can be a little bit more easier going up against the harder teams. Because, even though I'm a C9 fan, even seeing as how they perform well in those years that they did do well, the playing stage, people underestimate the playing stage. It really did help them. Imagine just throwing Licorice out there against Keen. Just throw him out there. Yeah, it probably would not have worked very well. But having him play against other players first, seeing how they play differently from North American players, does help out. So, but that is the double-edged sword. You go on the playing stage, you win the playing stage, you're going to get a really, really hard group. That's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. I think another thing with being able to go through the play-ins, something that definitely kind of correlated with that, as you said, was teams just generally have these different meta picks that they try in scrims, and once they show it on stage, they're okay, we prepared these we think that these are the best picks for our team, and then sometimes they just don't work out very well, and having those extra games before the group stage, which you only have 6 best of ones, that gives you a lot of leeway to be all right, we're not picking Ashe, this is not working for us, we're going to go to this instead.
Do you guys remember what pick that was last year?
Last year, was it Zaya or Kaisa?
It wasn't an AD carry. It was a jungler.
Oh,
I just remember a
fudge.
couple years ago it was fucking it was Levi's Nocturne. I think that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Gigabyte
Well,
Marines. Yeah,
I give you
Gigabyte
guys.
Marines.
I
I'll
want
let you know. So there was a pick coming into Worlds that everybody thought was like the best character in the game, and it was picked in plans multiple times. 0% win rate after people thought it would be the best jungler of Worlds.
Was it a
Oh my
best
God.
jungler? Oh, was it Elise?
Nah. All right,
Okay, well, I'm
Give me
gonna
another
guess.
guess.
Was it a tank jungler or a carry jungler?
Carry.
Carry. Okay. Nidalee?
Nah.
Kindred?
Nah.
Fuck. All right.
I can't.
One more try. One more try. Okay, I got this. Kindred, Elise, Lee Sin, Nidalee. What else is there? Shenryu, help your boy out!
The thing is, it was also popping off in solo queue every game.
I remember what you were talking about, but yeah, no one picked it. I remember. Fuck, God
They
damn.
only picked it in play-ins. None in the after play-ins. People saw it lose every single game. Didn't play it anymore.
Was it Olaf?
Xin Zhao?
Nah. All right, that's it. You got your guesses. Echo.
I didn't get one.
Echo
I
It was
got
Jungle.
Echo? It was Echo? Oh, Jungle Echo! Okay, yeah, I remember it got buffs both on the patch at Worlds. People were screaming in solo queue. They said it was the best pick ever. It got picked in play-ins. I remember no absolute stage games
0%
whatsoever.
win rate. Well, it had stage games, but it was only play-ins, right? And 0% win rate. Even the good teams that played Echo had 0% win rate on it. And after play-ins, 0. No one picked it or banned it. And
Yeah, that's right. Because Clutch played it. I remember in their first game they played it on Lyra, and it just looked so bad.
yeah, I
think
always
I
remember
remember
that
that now.
one. It's like, it was this champion that was popping off in solo queue, had so much ban presence in solo queue, and everybody thought it was one of the best characters in the game. And then, here it comes.
Yeah, unfortunately that did not help out Clutch last year, but I think it's fair to say TL is like 5 times the team that Clutch was.
Yeah, well, Clutch was good, but I think like that was just also a case of people thought a champion was better than it actually was. Like,
Right,
I've
yeah.
always thought Echo back then was just that's what it was, a solo queue character. And it wasn't that good and competitive, and lo and behold, 0% win rate, no pick rate, and group stage.
It's like Aurelian Soul.
Not
for
to-
like a
yeah,
long
not
ass
so
time,
that's
like a
what you were
58%
saying.
win rate.
Yeah, that's what you were saying about play-ins. You could see the picks that do and don't work, and it was really obvious after play-ins that Echo does in fact not work in competitive.
Yeah.
At least back then.
Man, like, no flame to Clutch. When I saw Clutch losing to Unicorns of Love, I was like, if that was Cloud9 in their position, they would not lose to them. It's like, I kind of expected Clutch to lose to them. It's like, it's Clutch, it's Huni, it's DeMonte. That's no flame. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just joking around.
Well,
But,
yeah, Clutch was an interesting team because like none of the players were really bad. It's just they unfortunately got a really hard group, and
Huni said he would like
Yeah.
a group with SKT. He got what he deserved.
He just wanted
I guess
revenge,
so.
but
You give a chance.
And it was Clutch was pretty fortunate to be there in the first place, I think.
Yeah.
So I'd be, if I was them, I'd be happy, making it to Worlds. Like
I just
I'm
think
not
it's
saying they're
unfortunate.
they're not
Oh,
bad,
God.
right? It's just they did what they could.
Mhm.
Like, people say, oh my
Definitely
god, they
think
went
they were
0-6. It was like, what do you expect? A group is RNG, Fnatic, and T1. They're like,
Yeah, they got a hard group.
and then
The only
like,
team I
you
thought
know,
they would beat was Fnatic. That was it.
They
That was
could,
the only
right?
team I
They
saw.
were
almost
supposed to
did.
beat them in
They
one of those
almost
games,
did.
yeah.
That was crazy. Like, it might have been 0-6, but it wasn't that bad. Like, in the RNG games, they were at least competitive in the early game until
Right,
Uzi
right.
started like ducking and diving on Kaisa 1v9. It's like, that's just Uzi. That's just who he is, you know?
Yeah.
But I do want to talk to you about C9. So what do you think? What do you personally think from playing against C9 in scrims and seeing them grow, evolve to the Spring Split champions? Then they went down to the ground and got knocked out by TSM. So what do you think was the main contributing factor to Cloud9?
Like
not,
their fall?
yeah.
That's a good question because we had played C9 like in the first half, and that was like when they were at their peak and they were destroying everybody.
Mhm.
So we did get destroyed by them in the first game. We lost in the second game too, but I don't remember if it was as bad. But it's really hard to say because we didn't never scrim C9. Like
Really?
Yeah, since
okay.
we were scrims in LCS, usually top tier teams scrim other top tier teams, and we were near the bottom, right? Either last place or near last place, almost all split.
Mm-hmm.
So our scrims would almost exclusively be, CLG, 100 Thieves,
Dig.
You had to
Dig.
scrim CLG.
Well, I mean, CLG's got to scrim someone, right? So.
R.I.P. Poe Belter.
Oh my god!
For the record, we finished 10th, but I think we were better than Dig and CLG.
You guys actually were.
Probably, yeah, fair assessment.
Yes. So we would scrim all of them, and we scrimmed C9 maybe once, but that was like a long time ago. It's hard to remember how it went. We didn't win the set, but we didn't get to actually experience them in scrims from like their downfall, some would say. So the contributing factors to that, I don't know, maybe teams just started stepping up and C9 couldn't take advantage of people being dumb anymore all the time because...
I was going to...
Go ahead.
No, you got it. Go ahead, finish. My bad.
Okay, I think my finishing thing was just that C9 had been playing this cocky, all three lanes are winning kind of deal. And then when it didn't end up being that way where lanes started losing sometimes, right? The fights aren't always just going to go 100% in their favor. So once people started contesting them in these skirmishes, especially since Blabber likes looking for them so much, things can go wrong and snowball, and it looks bad on C9's part.
You know what's funny?
See, that's what I was going to ask about. Oh.
No, son.
You got it.
Oh, no, because like certain games during the split, Blabber would just invade on Lee Sin with his support and ADC. They would all die level 1, and somehow they would still win. Now, at some point, you gotta feel like, okay, someone's gonna pick onto this. There's no way you can consistently lose level 1 like this. They were consistently doing this. Right. But just every single game, he would invade with Lee Sin with his support, Niski or Sven, depending on what side of the map they were on, and it would just die. I'm like, you cannot do that internationally. You will get destroyed. You imagine Canyon playing against them, seeing that. My God, I guess free game. What? These guys are competitively griefing.
So while I'll agree with that on yes, but like that's what they did last year. They like Blabber is always known for like his early game. Even last year in Worlds, he consistently outjungled like Yankos pre-15. Like once it hit 15 though, he started like inting. He'd have like 4 deaths in a row. But pre-15, he would outjungle the shit out of like Yankos and stuff. So I think another issue though is like, I mean, it happened against FlyQuest. FlyQuest every game had some wacky level 1 invade that would work out heavily in their favor, and then they would just snowball. But I think eventually what personally I see sucked was like, I mean, they talked about it. They didn't have success on the most broken ADC at the time, which was Kate. So they were forced to ban it, and they could never pick it on blue side. But like that's a waste of a ban.
Right.
That definitely
also,
seemed like the biggest issue.
I also think you kind of saw once the roaming support kind of mids besides TF kind of got slowly moved out, I think you started seeing a huge gap in individual skill levels in the mid lane as far as against like Yergsen and Jensen and PoE comparatively to Niski, who likes to go a supportive style.
It definitely seems like C9, as the season went on, the meta was slowly not favoring them in certain picks, and also the way that they were playing certain counter picks and counter matchups. Licorice kept doing this thing where he would either counter pick himself or play a matchup that just doesn't make sense, and he keeps on insisting on it, either him or the coaching staff, right? So like we don't know, like maybe it could have been that the coaching staff was kind of a big decision behind some of these drafts. We did see on one of the interviews that I Will Dominate did with the C9 players, they kind of explained that like they just the Kaylin pick was not doing anything for them scrims. I don't know if they necessarily talked about anything on their top lane picks, but I saw that as another potential weakness because Licorice had a really terrible series in the TSM series. He just wasn't playing tanks. It really doesn't make any sense, like why they weren't playing tanks in a lot of those compositions. So it just seemed like anything that could have gone bad for them really just did go bad at the end of the split.
Well, and like Allorim said, like people started taking these fights with them. Like C9 would always be like 3v2 at Scuttle. They would always be looking for these skirmishes, and they would always take them. But the other teams wouldn't really go with and try to take it as well. But you saw against like TSM, they went for I want to say it was Shelly. They went for Shelly, and then all of TSM collapsed on it. Like,
Yeah.
at least 4 out of the 5 members were there, and they turned it around. So I think teams just started kind of calling them
Catching
on
on?
these like skirmishes. That
Yeah,
they wanted to
calling
do.
out like bad engages.
Here's what you have to think about. So C9 was the best team in the region for like a good half of the year, right?
Mhm.
And it was pretty much uncontested, right? They were the best by far.
Mhm.
So think about this. Is C9, with no competition in scrims, like they're just the best, going to improve at a faster rate than the other teams who are scrimming C9, you know, that get to play against a team that's better than them, and so they get to learn from that? How can C9 improve at a faster rate than the other teams? So if you think about it, it was only inevitable until other teams were going to catch up and start figuring out how to contest these plays that we were doing, just based on practice, right?
Mhm.
I would agree to an extent, but one thing I would say to consider is you have just had super teams that just literally never lose or, you know, never back down. Like you think primetime SKT during their winter season OGN, or their Worlds run, which was also like almost just a 3-0 stomp across the board, except for when. No, not 2015, 2016. 2015 they also won, yeah, but 2016 they were on the verge of 3-0 in finals, and I think teams like that, like obviously I'm not going to compare C9 to them, but
Yeah.
the way that they can
Way
stay
better.
on top, the way they stay on top really is just staying ahead of the meta and not being able to, I think, draft well in the series that mattered was a big problem.
I can agree with you there, but I also think that SKT, a lot of people would have said that C9 and there was in the NA there was one team that was good, C9, and then 9 bad teams. Well, even at SKT's dominance, there were still other good teams to practice against. Like you couldn't say that it was SKT and 9 bad LCK teams, because you would say there's SKT, there was KT Rollster, right? Like and Samsung, those were all good teams, and so like SKT, I agree, was also that super team that was so dominant, but they did have teams that were considered also very good Worlds level teams, while we were considered to have 1 Worlds team and 9 bad teams.
Mhm.
Well,
I
my
was going to say,
thing
LCK
was
as a
that.
region. You got it.
Sorry. It was just that other teams had good players too. Like no one looked at TL and went, "All these players were dog shit." You know, we all took it as, it's their one bad split. Jensen hadn't really ever had a bad split.
It can happen.
Impact hadn't had a bad split since NRG. So it was like, this is Double hadn't had a bad split since what? Like CLG summer, no, it was like spring 2015 or something like that. So all these players really hadn't really had a bad split. And the teams with those pretty strong players that could compete with C9's players, they were just having all bad splits. Now, that's not an excuse as to why they lost, but that was a contributing factor as to the reason why you didn't see other teams perform. That was just for me personally. So coming into this split, I think on my power rankings, I had TSM and TL at second and third respectively, because they still had really good players. And I thought that this split, they would get their stuff together and challenge C9. And lo and behold, well, TSM with their strong players did. Bjergsen and Doublelift are still at worst, top 3 in their roles. So if Niski's the best and you have Bjergsen, which is like second or third best mid laner at that time, then that can definitely challenge them. That's what I was looking at it from my perspective.
Yeah, if you ask me like who I thought, like at least went into power rankings into summer, if you asked me just who on paper, if I just looked at nameplates who I thought would be best, I would still say TSM. If you just took nameplates into it, TSM or TL. Like if I just had to think about individual skill on each player, like a bad split happens. That's why when people like, I know a lot of people are like, Doublelift's fucking garbage, see, get rid of him. You know, bad splits can happen.
It can happen.
Then, like it happens to anybody.
Especially
like Spring does matter. Like someone got into an argument with me about Spring not mattering. Okay, I told them if Spring doesn't matter, TL should just keep their exact same roster then. What was the point of changing then? If Spring really doesn't matter, then teams that all failed in the Spring should just never change then. So Spring matters to a certain extent. It just doesn't matter as much as it did.
I think when they say that, it's Spring doesn't matter results-wise, but Spring can matter based on how you think your performance of the next split will go. Spring can matter because you can test a roster in Spring, see how it does, and if it doesn't work, then you know that you would need to make changes, right?
Yeah. So that's probably the thing with TL, especially when they saw Double's performance. They weren't immediately just like, you're fired, but they were just like, maybe we have better options on the table, because especially just like how the roster members were faring together, like you could clearly see like they were not at each other's throat, but they were not working well together.
All right. Anything else someone wants to add before we move on to the next topic?
Good.
Well, aren't we talking? What's the next topic? Is this going to be C9?
Reapered leaving C9.
Yeah, it's going to be spicy. I want to get on that.
Reapered leaving Cloud9. So Reapered has been with Cloud9 since summer 2016, when we used to swap out Smoothie and Bunny Fufu. Yeah, back in the days of best of threes, Reapered came. That's crazy. So I want to just get you guys' opinions. What was your first initial thoughts of this happening?
I'll
go first. So, I do want to preface, I already said before, like, I think it's unfair to cast certain judgment, right? Like, we can have initial judgments about, like, if we think this was a good decision or not, but we don't really know, like, what Reapered was doing behind the scenes for C9, and if ultimately, like, what happened with them at the very end of the split, which was a disaster, like, was totally his fault. But I think what is kind of fair to say is that, like, he just led this team to the most dominant split that this organization has ever had. He's also had a lot of successful Worlds runs, so I think that letting him go at this point in time was a huge mistake that they're going to regret in the future.
I think that it was more than likely mutual between the team and Reapered, because Reapered had time left on his contract extending to either 2021
2022?
Yeah, I think it was 2022.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So typically you wouldn't see someone get fired like that. There was probably like, hey man, like, we didn't make it this year, and he's probably like, yeah, maybe I want to try something else. That we've been here a long time, and they're just like, all right, then best of luck.
I been with the girl for so long, and then hey, gotta try.
I'd be genuinely surprised if there was actual bad blood between the two, and that they had problems with how each other worked, the Oregon Reapered.
Right.
So I think they're just looking for a change of pace and see how things work out in the future. They could go to regret it, right? But after 4 years and what they consider a disappointing split, I think they're ready to try something different.
I think my initial response was just like, I think it's a bad move. I just think it depends on where he goes. Because I know some people were speculating that he was, it could have been because he has military time, that he's got to serve in Korea. And then other people have said that in the interview that, like, no,
it's not that.
Still looking for work. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, you get rid of your, like, you let go of, like, your best player. Now you're giving other teams that you're going to have to play, that chance to pick somebody up that is known to be good. So he's, I mean, if you just look at it, like, he's won Coach of the Split 3 times.
Yeah.
And was second place 4 times. Like, he's pretty much been in the top 2 every split he's coached. I can tell you right now it's not military service, and that he's actively looking for teams. Yeah. I can't tell you which ones or what he's asking, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Allorim's already in those DMs. He knows exactly what's going on.
And now that he's already left, I knew he was leaving C9 weeks ago.
Oh, really? Interesting. Do you think it's possible he could go to a different region, or do you think he would likely stay in NA?
I don't know what's more likely, but I'd imagine more than one region is probably interested in working with him.
Yeah,
T1
definitely.
Reapered. T1 Reapered.
I think anything could happen. I think I'd be more shocked that he'd stay in NA.
That's fair.
Honestly, T1 they've swapped out quite a few times, and he's swapped out some players before. T1 Reapered. All I'm saying that would be a interesting combination.
It'd be an interesting switch for sure. I think the thing with Reapered is that, like, he definitely seems like kind of like a brains guy, and he just really needs a roster that is flexible to really kind of suit his drafting style. Because I think, like, not every team is going to work super well with Reapered. Like, if you only have 5 permanent players, right, you can't have people like swap in potentially. or people that are just only really good on 1 to 2 meta picks and can't have like pocket picks or anything like that. I think Reapered works really well when you have these kind of scenarios where you have players that are willing and able to pick a really strong counter pick or just a really strong meta pick in general to go up all against all sorts of matchups.
Yeah,
I think last year's... Oh, you got it.
All right. When you were talking about that, it's every coach's wet dream to hear that they have specific counter picks that can also be flexed. And because when you have specific counter picks like that, that means the draft is way easier. Every coach in the world is begging for their top laners to have variety in that kind of situation. So I know, just hearing you talk about that made me think about.
That's what G2 did. Like, if you looked at fucking G2 last year, they would have one pick, and that was back when you had like multiple like picks that could be flexed multiple lanes.
And a lot of them.
All of their players could literally play any role.
Everyone could play Pike on that team.
Yeah.
Yes. So you would have a Pike get locked in, and you're like, I wonder where it's going. Is Wonder gonna
it's going support this game. It's going jungle.
Is it going to be fucking Mickey on it? Like, they had multiple picks that could be flexed to 3 different lanes.
Yep.
And then now, when you're drafting against that fucking sucks. Like,
it makes the draft good for you and hard for the enemy.
Yep.
Like, where is this going? What do I fucking choose into this? And that's literally how they fucking stopped. Like, they took fucking Pike top. Like, Wonder.
I played
off.
Pike top
like,
too. I miss it. I liked
it.
Like, people are gonna look at Reaper's failures, but you got to factor in multiple splits. He finished either second place in the finals, won a trophy, got C9 to 2018 World Championship semifinals. It's like, if you're a team like that's in the lower brackets for the LCS, you might be looking at Reaper going, hey, what do you want? Hey, if you want the Shy, we'll get you the Shy, but please come and coach our team, please.
Yeah, I think
you're spending a lot of money if you're doing that.
He's gonna spend that. They're spending a lot of money. But I think it's ultimately.
Understand what I'm saying, right? It's like, he is gonna be a really good asset to any lower tier team. Like, people are gonna look at his big fumbles, but they're not gonna look at all the other good that happened in his career too. He coaches the splits, top 4, trophy. I mean, is there anything more? Like, take my wife, take my house. What else do you want?
It's just.
I think any team would be looking at him. I think any team would benefit to have Reaper as a coach.
That's true.
Just if you look at it.
That's true, but you also have to consider the funding. Like, I know how much Reaper is asking for, and.
Oh crap!
He is not cheap.
Does he accept Monopoly money? Because I got a bunch of that over here.
He's not cheap. I can tell you that.
All right, CLG, you need Reaper. Start there. I'm just...
Well, see, that's the interesting. That's the interesting dynamic that I was going to say is in tandem with what Allorim just said. So not only is he going to be asked for a lot of money, but realistically, like, Reaper is not going to go to a bottom tier team no matter which region he goes to, right? So. I really doubt he would go to TSM because he doesn't seem like he would fit with the way that TSM.
Hey Beardson, you're out. Why? You're out.
You're benched.
Academy mid in. Doubling, you're out. Academy bot laner in. They're like, what the hell?
that would be pretty funny. But yeah, like, I think the idea is, and this might even like influence the fact, or just the idea rather, that he might entertain different regions more than not, is because I cannot think of an EU or NA team that is top 3 that would really like take him like instantly right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think I don't think that he would really be like, Dignitas. Yeah, I want to coach that team right now.
Yeah, it's.
Oh shit!
He has the power to be picky right now.
I'm telling you, T1 Reaper. It's coming.
I could see it happening.
It's possible,
If we're going region by region, maybe he could go to EG. He coached those players before, Vince Scarin, Zazel. No, that wouldn't work. I just thought that right now, why it wouldn't work.
I just don't know if EG's even changing coaching staff.
Right, exactly.
At Worlds, that ain't happening. That ain't happening.
Oh my god. I don't know. Hey, FlyQuest, you know what? If you're failing, Reaper, he goes to the sister team.
I'm just saying, they're doing all right. FlyQuest
is... with Curry Shot, they're doing really well.
So now
it's
should wait until after Worlds before
No, just lock him in right now. All right, you're like my call girl. I'll call you when I'm ready for you.
Yeah.
Right after you fill the world, all right, Reaper, get the hell in here, fix it all. Oh my god! But no, I think people in general are gonna look at all the big failures, but all the little things he did. Like he made C9 each iteration of a C9 roster. He got them pretty far, except for this split though.
Yeah.
Like most of the splits, he did pretty well. He got them out of group stages in group of deaths, with like T1, Gen G, RNG teams like that. Like. When I first saw the news, I was like, you know what? It's been a long time, though. Like, it's been a long time. So if they want to change and see how it's going to be, because some people always think, hey, the grass is greener on the other side. And you really never know. And that's why I tell people, like, even if you're a fan of IMT, Cloud9, Golden Guardians, they're going to change their rosters. At some point, these are not going to be the same players playing together forever. That's just me personally. But from looking at competitive sports like basketball, hockey, baseball, football, I'm more of the basketball football guy. But,
you will never have the same roster on the same team for forever. There's always going to be changes.
They're like, why'd you get rid of Sneaky? Eventually, he was going to leave anyway, or he's going to retire. So you take it now, you take it later.
I'm swapping to my computer real quick. My phone's almost dead.
Okay, no problem.
All right, what's the next topic we're going to go on?
Nothing. We're going to sit here and just stare at Allorim the whole time.
Nice.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, Worlds 2020 predictions. So this means, what do you guys predict in terms of either meta, underrated teams, players people aren't looking at? Let's start with the meta, because we know we're not having the new Samurai champion. I forgot his name. Vaughn? Right?
Yone, yeah.
Yone?
The best character in the entire game.
Why is he? So Riot is a month away. You could have put him in. Come on.
Especially with this talent, the talent that there is in mid lane, like, and how high of a skill cap champion he is. I'd say he's a higher skill cap champ than Yasuo, just based off his like ult and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like the stuff you can do with his E is just absolutely stupid. So I just think, like, why not have him with the set of mid laners that are there? Or like,
well, I just have a question. I have a question for you guys. So every single year, there's a champion that's almost 100% ban rate, right? Like never being. Last year, it was. Can you remember? Pantheon. So
Pantheon did not make it through a single fucking pick ban.
And in previous years, it was like Alistar, Shen,
Kalista 2017.
Mordekaiser and what was it, 2015? Mordekaiser and Gangplank.
So
Juggernaut.
Who do you think it's going to be this year? I already have my answer.
I was going to say the new jungle champion.
I think Shen, actually.
Lilia and Shen, I think Shen in specific is going to be high ban rate. But I think Lilia would be more toward like 40-50%.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think Graves might be pretty high too, just with the amount of junglers, especially like in the LPL that play Graves. Like Peanut's really good on Graves.
I'm also gonna say, like, in my opinion, that'd be more like 40s or something, maybe even less. Because Graves, I do think is good, and a lot of players are good at Graves. But many people are willing to let people have Graves so they can play Nidalee and Set or something like that.
If I had to put my highest win or my highest ban rate champ, I honestly, that's kind of hard because I really think it depends on who you're playing against. Because like obviously certain teams you wouldn't ban certain champs if they're not good at it. Like say it's theoretically C9 made Worlds, you wouldn't ban Kate against C9. Yeah. They never fucking pick it. So if I had to choose, I would say just blanket statement. I would say TF.
Okay. I think you were almost on the money with Caitlyn, though. I think there will be a lot. If Caitlyn, I think will be
gonna be big.
top 5 or even top 3 most banned champ. But my
TF, Gallia, okay.
My number 1 is going to be Lucian. I think
top or mid.
Both.
Well, yeah, just the flex,
right? So
flex. Okay.
And I think a lot of teams recently have been playing more and more Lucian in solo lanes. So
it's been heavy picked mid, top.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think Lucian, is my prediction for highest ban rate champ this year. I don't think he'll be 100% because I can't think of a champ that is worthy of 100% bans right now. But if I had to say top 3, it'd be Lucian, Caitlyn, maybe Shen.
Hello, Sama. Oh, he's got the Lemillion thumbnail. That's cool though. Lemillion literally looks like All Might. It's his son.
I think realistically, I don't think there's any chance it's like as busted as like Pantheon was last year. Well, like Pantheon was absolutely fucking stupid.
Yeah,
like he could do anything.
It was crazy.
It was absolutely dumb. So I don't think any champs like that. But yeah, I can actually see Caitlyn being the highest ban rate.
Which player is people sleeping on right now? Not the well-known ones right now. Who is someone coming into Worlds that everyone is currently sleeping on?
So, I mean, I guess if we're defining sleeping on as being like no one's really hyping up this team, I mean, everyone
supports.
Supports play a really important impact in this meta, especially because of support counter pick.
Right.
I would be looking at LPL's third seed, Suning, right?
Yep.
Sword Art.
I think they're going to be really good in this meta.
I think Sword Art, people forget, Flash Wolves were really, really good because of Sword Art. Sword Art, Karsa, Maple. Remember, Sword Art would literally, I think he was one of the first international ports where I'd see, all right, whoever's AD carry was, like, was it Betty? At some point was like,
Betty, yeah.
Or FNL or something like that. He'd be like, all right, dude, see you later, dude. I'm Roman. From minute level 1, he would leave him consistently. But
Flash
Sword Art is...
yeah, no, my bad.
Sorry. Sword Art is always... He's like Karsa in the way like he always wants to get the game going. He doesn't like sitting there doing nothing. I think people have forgotten how impactful Sword Art really was over the years. And this past split for the LPL 2020 summer split, he was really impactful though. Him and Huan Fang, they were a pretty solid bot lane considering the fact that Sword Art left him. Sword Art's not changed. If you guys think he's changed or formed, he's gonna sit lane and no, he's changed. He's not that. He's literally the same person. Except he's more calculated with it, because back when I used to see him play, he would always kind of just invade randomly with no vision whatsoever, just to do it to face check, and he would die consistently, giving over advantage. Now it's more refined. He's warding consistently. He's playing with his mid laner more, and his mid laner Angel is actually really good. So I think even just Suning as a team, I think people are massively sleeping on Sword Art. They always slept on Sword Art, but I think now with his new team, he'll be a lot more stronger.
In general, people are just like, a lot of top lists of players I've not been rating supports very high because I feel like this is very mid jungle centric meta. So there are very few supports that are getting like, oh my god, this guy's gonna go nuts.
Samba says, I was watching the League on Lock top 22 teams. You should make your own list. What's your top 5? Oh, that's next week.
I literally have that video up because I was watching it earlier, and I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I think EU is overhyped as far as teams that aren't G2 and maybe like Larson and some of Rogue. I think they're extremely overhyped. Like, I've gotten into multiple arguments. People were trying to tell me Caps is the best player in the world right now, and I was like, oh, what? And they're like, you won fucking LEC 6 times in a row or 8 times in a row. How was that not?
He's the first Western mid laner to go 0-6 in World Finals, right?
Caps is good, but I wouldn't put him number 1, but Caps is good. No lie.
Oh, no, I think Caps is extremely good. I think, personally, I don't have him in my top 10. I think he's somewhere around, like, the 15 range. I definitely think he deserves to be in the top 20 for sure. Okay. He is actually insane. I just think to sit there and be like, oh, well, he's done so good against LEC, and it's like, yeah, but he was getting outlaned by Do and B on, like, Nautilus.
Faker. Someone told me he smashed Faker. I was like, what games did you watch and what games did I watch? Because I didn't see him smash Faker. I saw him roaming. He was playing the Nisky style. Hey, you roam. I'm a roam dude. You can have the lane. Peace out, bro.
Wonder hard carried that fucking G2 SKT series on Pike. The first game Pike, I think it was.
He
had like some insane amount of fucking kills. He
never smashed Rookie. He never smashed Faker. Whatever games you watched, you need to go back to Iron 5 because you don't watch the same games.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk shit about Caps because he is historically like he is a world class. Right. He is a world class mid laner, but
easily
he's just not. I wouldn't rate him above the best in the world.
No, I think he easily. I would say he's probably around 4th or 5th best mid, in my opinion, at Worlds right now. Because I mean, like realistically, they beat Damwon last year, but I think that was more of a team diff because Showmaker actually outplayed him. And
G2 was playing very well back then too.
Yeah, G2 as a team was actually insane. Like their macro decisions, decisions were insane. Like they'd be like, oh, they're going bot side dragon or something. Hey, we have a free inhib top now. Like let's take it.
Right.
I think when it comes to the kind of the topic we were, I think we were straying a little bit away from it. But one person I wanted to talk about, which is also on my favorite LCK team right now, Gen G. So their top laner, Rascal, I think is actually ridiculously good, and he gets kind of overshadowed by the fact that he has BDD and Ruler on the same team, and both of them are playing really, really well right now. Like, if you just go back and watch some of the series, like especially the really, really close series that they ended up losing against DRX, he was playing insane that entire 5 games. And, you know, like, he unfortunately is in a region where top lane has King and a bunch of other, like, really star players. I think Rascal is going to show up, like, really big no matter which group they get in.
It's so easy to be overshadowed by Ruler. It's just
it's just unfair how good he is.
It's just it was the same like any player on the same team with Uzi.
Yeah, I think another one. Honestly, I think another player just because they get overshadowed by the rest of their team, and it's Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost.
I think Ghost is insane, but you're on the team with Showmaker and Nuguri, who are arguably
superstar solo
who are all arguably top 3, if not the best at their respective lane as far as like mechanically. So I think Ghost gets severely overlooked.
Yeah,
even what's his name, Beryl? Even Beryl gets kind of underrated too.
That's because last year Beryl was known as the Alistar one trick. Like if you look at any game he played Alistar, he did great. And if it wasn't Alistar, I mean, also he had Nuclear, who arguably wasn't that great, but
much less than Ghost, rather.
Yeah, so I think Ghost is honestly severely underappreciated purely based on the fact that he's got 3, you know, insane solo lanes, jungle, you know, whatever you want.
There's a lot of superstar solo lane and jungle talent this year at Worlds. So
yeah, that's what's exciting. I think the top lane pool is really strong, but also like jungle and support seem like really competitive as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking 369, Zoom, and Naguri. All my top 3 top laners, and then mid lane you've got Knight, Showmaker, and Canyon, right?
Right?
Yeah, Canyon's jungle.
Not Canyon. Chovy.
Yeah, Chovy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I said Canyon. I was thinking C. Yeah, but so it's just those 3 like alone. I'm just thinking, my God, look at the solo lanes, and that's not. And there are still so many good players past that.
Karsa's on top. Jackie Love's on top.
I think this is the hardest.
Knight versus Canyon. That's the matchup I want to see. Knight versus Canyon. Best LCK mid versus best, or even Chovy too. Knight versus Chovy. I'll take that. I'll take Knight versus Showmaker. Showmaker.
Yeah.
I'm saying Canyon. I'm sorry. Hey, you never know. They might do the FPX switch where one of the guys is playing jungle. They might just role swap randomly. No, I'm just kidding.
I think this is arguably, though, the hardest year to determine a top 20, in my opinion, as far as talent goes, because I just think there's just so much insane people.
Yeah. I think it's easy to put the mid laners all the way near the top, and
recency bias is going to be a huge thing, I think, for ESPN, any LoL Esports top 20 that's going to come out. It's like, obviously, the people who won, right? Everyone's going to be thinking about Bjergsen, Caps, Showmaker, Chovy, right? But I think like the players that we just talked about, Ghost, Beryl, Rascal that I mentioned, a lot of these players are definitely going to get kind of cut onto the radar just purely due to a lot of recency bias that's going to happen, I would say.
I think it's also a lot of I watched the ESPN LoL's fucking top 20 list, and honestly, in my opinion, that shit was a joke.
I didn't even get to see it. I would love to.
They put Knight as number 1, which I can agree with at least.
I can agree with that. Okay, so but like I said, I don't agree that Caps is number 5, but I think he's still in there. But they had like Reckless at 20, and they had. I can see Selfmade being in there.
They had Naguri way too low.
I do not think Reckless is a top 20 player right now.
Reckless at 20. Okay, they didn't watch the split.
Well, they were heavily biased towards like EU. And like I understand that. Like I feel like EU's got the biggest fan base as far, well, at least as people that I understand, obviously, because I only speak English and like the very little bit of Japanese that I know. But like, I'm not interacting on Twitter with Korean fans or LPL fans, which is personally what I enjoy watching the most is the LPL and LCK. So,
all right, fair enough.
I think the issue here with when you're going into a world's top 20 list is that, for me, consistently, people underrate the Western players or overrate them. That's kind of it's never in the middle. So for me, if you put a player like Bjergsen in the top 20, you just put him at 20 because You know,
it feels stupid putting any NA player because like you don't want to put it there. It's like, well, NA's done so shit in the past, right?
Yeah. plus, like I think what you're trying to go for is if you just kind of put the pity one in there for NA, it's just like, oh, we feel obligated to put this guy here because he's our king.
I mean, it might be true because you only see the NA players play against the other NA players until Worlds, right? Or an MSI, which didn't happen. So. This year, I think it's fair not to put any players in the top 20. It's like, all right,
I would
prove us
agree.
wrong. Show up on stage.
I guarantee it. Someone will put Faker in the top 20.
I think the only one you could like really put on there is probably Bjergsen.
Bjergsen, PoE, they mean Core JJ.
Core JJ. I think, but also
Core JJ is what I would go with. Yeah,
it would have to be Core JJ, Bjerg, or PoE.
Yeah. I just think it's just super hard. Like I said, like this year's top 20
it's pretty hard.
I think it's extremely hard especially if you actually wanted to go and not just be like, oh, any order, Knight, Showmaker, Kanavi, Barrow. Like that's easy. Sure, you could just come up with like 20 players that you think are the best, but actually putting them in order too, I think like that's really fucking hard. Like,
that's why I said I need the extra week to do our top 20 players list because like, dude. I was looking at these games. I was like, dude, where am I going to put Zoom at? This guy's been insane.
Yeah, Zoom is so good.
Zoom, Kanavi.
Karsa is actually having an insane split in the playoffs. Like, what is this?
However you pronounce it, Sofum, the
SOFM. Dude, SOFM has been so underrated, and now he's finally coming out, and he's so good. He plays around objectives so well. Like, where do you put SOFM at? Below Bjergsen? I don't know.
It's hard to say. Would you be crazy if you did? I think you would. It's hard to put any NA player in.
No, if I made a top 25, I would have NA players in the 21 through 25. I would do that. But in top 20, it's like, sorry.
How can you justify it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think like in the previous couple of years, so Jat, back when he was still a caster, and a few others, they would put their NA players, Doublelift, Bjergsen, at around they would hover around, like 15 to 20, and then their justification would be like, all right, they've been playing really, really well this year domestically, but we got to see them internationally. If they don't show up internationally this year, I'm going to drop them off this list if they appear back next year. And that's kind of what happened for a lot of the people. It's like NA has had pretty terrible performances internationally, so it's really hard to say, oh yeah, Bjergsen's in his prime again, so let's put him in the top 20 list when you have 4 LPL teams, 4 LCK teams, 3 really strong LCK teams.
These top 20 lists are just opinions, so it's just like...
Exactly,
yeah.
Oh my god, he doesn't agree with me about Caps being the best mid laner, I hate him.
Yeah, and realistically, as a player, it's like, whatever, man. Like, I'm just going to play... You're not going to play any better or worse based on what someone put on their sheet of paper.
Yeah, bro, I got fucking blasted when I was like, yeah, Caps isn't the top 5 player in the world.
Oh, yeah, when you put it on the group, dude. Oh my god. They
blasted me. I was like, the EU fan base, they were not having it. They were not happy. I was like, hey, all right, yeah, I don't care. And they're like, fucking NA, you NA fans. And I was like, bro, NA is not my favorite region. I don't like watching NA.
The same thing happened to me in the group. When I said, hey, I'm glad we're moving on from Sneaky, they're like, oh my god, you're a Sneaky hater. I never even said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. I said I met this person IRL, but we're talking about gameplay versus me and person IRL. They need to move on. They're like, oh my god, you're a big hater, you're a Sneaky hater, get out of here. I'm like, all right, whatever. Hey, you know what I mean?
Sneaky was successful on Kate, though, when he did play.
That's true. And those cosplays are great. Yeah, but Allorim, we're putting you at number 1. Instead of we're putting you at number 1 top 20 player.
I mean, I deserve it, right?
they're not gonna have an answer for the Malphite at Worlds this time.
Yeah. I'm gonna instant ban it from
100% ban.
Game 5 against Top Esports. When the IMT's in the finals, guys, they're gonna ban Malphite. Game 5. It's gonna force you to play. They're gonna play Yorick in Game 5. Calling it right now. Just pulling up the Yorick, man.
Hey, like I said before he joined, I enjoyed watching the Malphite games, and the interviews.
I did too, actually. Yeah, I liked them.
The interviews were fun to watch.
It's just I like playing Malphite. What can I say? It works. It's whack because Malphite's so punishable. But if it works, then
yeah, it's true.
Especially with the Ori ball delivery,
yeah,
it's got a lot of potential, if nothing else.
Yeah, it can't be that dumb if it works every now and then.
True.
So one of the last things we did, players. So the teams that most people have an expectation for the teams, which is like Suning, Damwon, Genji, But teams, what about other teams people aren't really looking at? Besides, like, no one's looking at any NA teams, really. Like, it's like, you know.
I think it's all matchup, though. It's all based on who you get in your groups. Like, realistically. Like, TL last year could have easily made it out if they were in either B. I think they could have even made it out in C, realistically. Like, I think they probably could have made it over Fnatic. But you put them in a group with IG, who was, Rookie was having a mess split. But, I mean, you still have Rookie in the Shy. And then they also still had Jackie Love at the time. And then you also had Damwon, who has Showmaker Nuguri.
They took a game off them. They almost got they did the impossible. People were like, okay, they have to either take games off Damwon and IG. And they actually took a game off Damwon, and they actually almost beat IG. It was just, NA week 2, lol.
And then I forgot who the fourth team was.
HQ.
HQ. They had good. I mean, I think that was back when they had like Westdoor was his name.
Yeah.
Who was like? Who was it?
I think they did still have Westdoor. Did they not?
No, because Westdoor had not retired.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
You guys remember better than I do. I
remember. Westdoor's retired for years, man.
I used to keep up like really heavy with all the like play-in teams and stuff like, or the wild card region teams. Right. But honestly, I think it depends on who you get. I think people are underestimating LGD, just because they're the 4th seed and they're like, oh.
They're good.
Like what, GA and Peanut? They're like, okay, that's like all they have. Yeah, and I think honestly, whatever group they go into, I think they have a chance to upset like heavily because I think Peanut's actually insane to split.
Who would they upset is the question. Would it be that big of a upset if like LGD beat TL?
Probably not.
I mean, like
they're in the same seed.
I mean, LGD like, are actually pretty strong. People sleep on LGD because LGD is kind of a meme because let's be honest here, LGD have been literally shit for so long. People are like, LGD is bad still. No, they have Peanut, Shie, Lang X from the RNG roster last year. Do they still have Kramer? They have Kramer, right?
They still have Kramer, and Kramer's good. Kramer's really good in LCK.
They legitimately have a good team. Like, people are going to be like, oh my god, they're bad from all this many years. Imp was on the roster. No, this is a completely different team. This is a way better team now. Like, all the LPL teams are strong. I think people are sleeping on SOFM because they don't know like who he is. And I like the way he plays is so much different.
Insane, bro.
Bro, he has the hands of gods in his. He has the fingers of a god. I swear. That's like bronze.
Lee Sin game that he just outplayed the living shit out of Echo, the mid laner. I forgot. The Echo was fed too. I forgot what mid laner it was and what team they were playing against, but he absolutely outplayed the shit out of him. I was like, yeah, no, this dude's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But then I think the only Chinese team people have iffinesses on is the team with Yigao, JDG, right?
They better not. JDG was insane.
I can't really say I'm shaky on any of the LPL teams. And if
it's really hard to say that. Yeah.
If I did, it would be the 4th seed because I think Peanut has not had an amazing split. I think Kramer's like their superstar, right? And playing around bot lane would be the play, but. Even then, I'm not like, oh man, these guys. I don't know about them. It's they're all good.
I think any LPL team has like a really good shot at making it out of groups, and I can agree. Honestly, I can say the same with the LCK. I can see the LCK like 2 seed. I can see DRX beating G2.
Yep.
That's easy.
Not, that's not like a oh, can they beat G2? It's like they can beat G2.
I think. Yeah, honestly, I think all three. I think Korea is actually in a better spot than they have been in previous years. I think all 3 of the LCK teams are actually solid, whereas like recently it's been like last year. I mean, people thought like Griffin were okay and they just choked, but I just think they got unlucky. I think Griffin, if they would have played G2, I think they could have beat G2 in a best of 5. I mean, even in group stages, they were kind of smacking them around.
Yeah, they went 2-1.
They were kind of smacking them around in the games. I think NA and LEC are going to have the hardest times getting out of groups, personally. If I just had to base it off of what I've seen.
That's a pretty easy thing to say. NA is
not a hot take. It's not a hot take.
Bro, we're going to see TSM in Worlds Finals, Game 5 against Top Esports. Reginald will get subbed in for Bjergsen. He'll play Zed. Lena will play ADC. She's like, all right, I got this. Doublelift, go over there. I'm playing Caitlyn in Game 5 against... who's Jackie Love, bro? We're gonna see it. I guarantee it'll happen one day.
I think TSM can make it. I think TSM will make it out. To be honest. I think it just depends. I think it depends on if they get ADP.
They could draw. They could actually draw Fnatic and Match Esports, and that's a very doable group.
I'm holding my opinion until the group draw because it's so hard to say until.
It's so hard to say. Yeah,
that's true.
But that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any questions for Allorim for him before we gotta go?
I think we covered a lot.
I was gonna.
Yeah, we did cover a lot.
I had a question at first, but then he was answering it when you talked about not scrimming C9 because I was like, I've heard a bunch of stuff about like C9, even when they were in their downward slump, that they were still just smashing everybody in scrims. And then I've heard other people say like, yeah, no, they looked pretty bad in scrims too. Like I think they even said themselves in scrims, but then you were like, yeah, no, we didn't scrim C9. So
I wouldn't know that. You know, we weren't good enough to get the privilege of scrimming C9.
I think you guys just got unlucky, man.
Yeah.
And like single ability uses. Like I watched Insanity miss the Orianna ult, and I was like, he's been playing so good this whole game, and then just the one slip up, and people were like, he's garbage, he's not good, and I was like,
if we're making slip ups that are just like small things like that, which could be put down to just choking. Like if we're actually creating games that could be winnable based on our player skill and the macro we have, then that's a better sign than us losing every single early game and never having a chance in the first place.
Could be as bad as CLG. Could be as bad as CLG going 1-11.
Worse than CLG, so. But I think historically we were not the worst 10th place team that's ever existed.
No, for sure, no.
So next split.
There you go. All right, that's pretty much it. Next week, we'll have the top 20 players list, guys. It's going to be, bro, I'm literally putting Power People *1, and then you guys are going to stop me. Power People is the best mid laner in the world. Spica is better than SOFM. I promise you. He plays a mean Nidalee. I'm just kidding, guys.
Truth.
All right. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I will be dropping all the news videos if they ever come out. Allorim, he'll be supplying information. He's like, Faker's coming to North America. Just call it right now. But
don't tell anyone
until it's actually out there. But see you guys later. Goodbye. Have a good week, and then I'll see you guys next week. That's it, because the World's group draw is tomorrow. So let's hope NA gets a favorable group draw. Let's just hope for the best. See you guys later. Peace. Have a good day. And I'll see you later. Goodbye.